Have you ever been with a guy who suddenly pulls away right when things start getting good? He was texting you first, calling you late at night, giving you those eyes that said, "I'm into you." And then radio silence, cold, distant, confusing. You're left staring at your phone, wondering, did I imagine everything? Did I do something wrong? Here's the truth. No one tells you. Sometimes when a guy acts distant, it's not because he's lost interest. It's because you've triggered something deeper in him, something he didn't expect. You're not just another girl to him. You're in his head. And that's exactly why he's pulling away. Crazy, right? But male psychology works in paradoxes. The moment a guy realizes you matter, he might freeze. He might start protecting his emotions instead of expressing them. That silence, that distance, it might actually be his version of obsession. In today's video, I'm breaking down 9 psychological signs that you're not just a passing thought. You're someone he can't stop thinking about. If you've been confused by his mixed signals, this is the clarity you need. This isn't guesswork or generic dating advice. It's based on real emotional patterns that show up when a guy is hooked, even if he pretends he's not. So grab your headphones, lean in, and let's decode the truth behind his silence. Because once you know what to look for, you'll never misread his distance again. When a man acts hot and cold, it can feel like emotional whiplash. One moment he's all over you, texting you good morning, complimenting you, making plans, and the next, he's distant, dry, and almost unreachable. You're left wondering if you did something wrong, or if he's just not that into you anymore. But here's the thing most people don't understand. This push-pull behavior isn't always about a lack of interest. In many cases, it's a clear sign of inner conflict. Men are wired differently when it comes to processing emotions, especially in the early stages of attraction. When a guy starts developing real feelings that go beyond surface level attraction, it can actually trigger fear of vulnerability, fear of losing control, fear of rejection. He might not even realize it consciously, but as soon as those deeper emotions surface, his instinct can be to pull back and create space. That's why his behavior feels so inconsistent. It's not that he's playing games or intentionally trying to hurt you. It's that he's caught between desire and defense. On one hand, he feels drawn to you. On the other, he's scared of what it means to truly open up or get attached. And let's not forget ego. Sometimes when a guy really likes you, he pulls back just to see if you'll chase him. It becomes a way to test your interest or regain a sense of control. It's not mature, it's subconscious, but it happens more often than you'd think. So if a guy is sending mixed signals, don't immediately assume it's rejection. Often it's a sign that something deeper is going on. He's thinking about you more than he lets on, but he's also battling his own emotional reflexes, especially if what he feels is more intense than he expected. Understanding this gives you the power to respond without desperation, and to see the bigger picture behind the behavior. When a guy is trying to act distant but keeps randomly checking in, it's one of the clearest signs you're still living rent-free in his mind. These check-ins may seem small or casual at first. A random, "Hey, just thought of you," or a totally out-of-the-blue message, like "Saw this and it reminded me of you." Sometimes it's even subtler, reacting to your story, liking an old photo, or texting you something completely mundane like "Did you watch that show yet?" It feels spontaneous, but it's rarely random. These kinds of messages often happen when he's been thinking about you more than he wants to admit. Maybe he misses you. Maybe he's wondering what you're doing. Or maybe he just needs to feel that you're still accessible. But instead of coming right out and saying, "I miss you," or "I can't stop thinking about you," he sends a message that feels safer, less vulnerable. It's his way of staying connected without fully showing his cards. What's important here is the timing. These check-ins usually don't follow a clear pattern. He's not consistent, and that's exactly why it stands out. You'll go days without hearing from him, thinking maybe it's over, or he's lost interest. Then suddenly, ding, he pops back in. That's not coincidence, that's mental attachment. And here's where it gets more interesting. He's not doing it for your benefit. He's doing it for his reaching out. Even just a little gives him a sense of closeness, like he's still in your orbit. It soothes whatever anxiety or curiosity he's having without fully committing. But the fact that he needs that kind of reassurance tells you one thing: you're on his mind. even when he's trying to act indifferent. So don't underestimate those seemingly random messages. They're often emotional breadcrumbs, and while they don't always mean he's ready to open up or move the relationship forward, they're proof that the connection you built hasn't disappeared from his thoughts. He's checking in for a reason, and that reason is you. One of the biggest clues that you're on a guy's mind, even when he's acting distant, is when he talks about you to other people, specifically his friends. Now, he might not come right out and say, "I like her," but your name's slipping into casual conversations. That's a sign he's thinking about you far more than he's letting on. Guys don't typically mention someone they don't care about. And if he's the type to act cool or emotionally guarded, he might not say much to you directly, but pay attention to what trickles through the grapevine. Maybe his friend casually tells you, "Oh yeah, he mentioned you were into that movie," or "He told us about that trip you went on." That's not random. That means you've become a part of his internal world, whether he admits it or not. Even more revealing, when he talks about you in a positive or protective way, if he's complimenting you behind your back, joking about your quirks, or defending you in conversations, it means your presence is emotionally significant to him. He may be trying to keep it low-key on the surface, but deep down you've made a real impression, and there's often a reason he talks about you instead of talking to you. It feels safer. It creates distance. He gets to process his feelings without feeling exposed. But the very fact that he's bringing you up shows he hasn't moved on, and probably doesn't want to. Let's be clear, men don't just randomly insert someone's name into conversations. It means he's been turning thoughts of you over in his mind, wondering how you are, reliving memories, even imagining future moments. You're taking up mental space, and sometimes it's easier for him to let those feelings leak out through his friends than to tell you directly. So if you hear your name coming up, even in small ways, it's not meaningless. It's actually a pretty loud sign that you've gotten under his skin, even if he's trying hard to stay cool about it. When he talks about you when you're not around, it's because you're never really gone from his thoughts. It's one of the most frustrating and confusing behaviors. He watches every single one of your stories, almost instantly, but doesn't send a single message. No, hey, no follow-up, no reaction, just silence. Yet there he is, consistently one of the first views on every post. It feels passive, but it's not. This is a quiet but powerful signal that you're still very much in his head. Social media is the new window into someone's life. When a guy is keeping up with your stories, but avoiding direct contact, what he's really doing is lurking in the safest way possible. He wants to stay connected. He wants to know what you're up to. He wants that access to your life without opening himself up to an actual conversation. It's low effort, low risk, and high in emotional significance. You may wonder, if he cares, why doesn't he just text me? The answer usually lies in emotional avoidance. Watching your stories allows him to feel close to you without taking responsibility for that closeness. It's a way of maintaining attachment without making a move, especially if he's feeling vulnerable, unsure of what to say, or trying to manage feelings he didn't expect to have. This kind of silent watching is his comfort zone. And make no mistake, it's intentional. He knows you'll see that he viewed your story. That's part of the pull-push dynamic. It keeps the thread alive. It leaves the door open. He may not be texting you, but he's sending a message. I see you. I haven't forgotten you. Sometimes this behavior is his way of testing the waters. He's trying to gauge your energy without putting himself out there. Other times he's dealing with his own inner conflict, feeling drawn to you, but hesitant to engage because of fear, pride, or emotional immaturity. So don't underestimate this kind of digital attention. It's not meaningless. When he consistently shows up in the background, it's because he hasn't let go. Watching your stories might seem passive, but in reality, it's a quiet form of pursuit. He's still tuned in, even if he's pretending to be distant. One of the most overlooked but powerful signs that a guy is emotionally hooked, even if he's trying to act distant, is when he starts mirroring your behavior. And this doesn't always mean copying you word for word or mimicking your gestures. Sometimes it's more subtle. You text less, he starts texting less. You post a certain mood or vibe, he matches it in his next story. You pull back, and suddenly, he mirrors that same energy right back to you. It's not coincidence. It's emotional syncing. Mirroring is a subconscious form of connection. People naturally do it when they feel emotionally invested, whether they realize it or not. When someone starts adopting your habits, speech patterns, or energy, it means they're paying close attention. And in the case of a guy who's acting distant, mirroring can reveal what he's really feeling beneath the surface. If you've noticed that his tone shifts based on yours, or he starts using phrases you often say, that's mirroring. If he changes the way he texts to match your pace, emoji style, or even the times of day you respond, that's not accidental. That's behavioral alignment driven by emotional focus. He might not be ready to open up or say how he feels. He may even be trying to convince himself he's not that into you. But his nervous system doesn't lie. When someone is thinking about you, invested in how you see them, or trying to stay in rhythm with your energy, mirroring just happens. It's especially noticeable when you distance yourself. If you go quiet and he suddenly does too, he's reflecting your energy to avoid vulnerability, or he's trying to protect himself from rejection by matching your behavior. Either way, it shows he's tuned in. He's emotionally tracking you, even when he claims he's not. So pay close attention to those little patterns. The way he starts to sound like you. The way he matches your timing, your mood, even your silence. Mirroring isn't just flattery, it's emotional resonance. And when it comes from someone who's acting distant, it's often the clearest clue that you're not just in his orbit, you're under his skin. When a guy brings up old inside jokes, especially out of nowhere, it's rarely just for laughs. It's a quiet, almost nostalgic way of reconnecting with a moment you shared, a moment that clearly meant something to him. Inside jokes are powerful. They're more than funny comments. They're shared experiences, private language, and emotional fingerprints of a connection. So when he brings one up, even casually, what he's really doing is reopening the emotional door between you. Here's what makes this sign so telling. A guy who's trying to seem distant, who's keeping you at arm's length, doesn't need to remind you of your shared memories. But when he does it anyway, when he says that weird phrase you both made up, or makes a joke only you two would understand, it means that memory is still alive in his mind, and he wants you to remember it too. He may laugh it off like it's nothing, but it's not. It's emotionally strategic, even if it's subconscious. Bringing up an inside joke is his way of testing the water. He's seeing if the bond is still there, if you'll respond, if you'll laugh, if you remember it like he does. And if you do, that's confirmation for him. The connection is still real. This behavior is especially telling when there's been distance between you. Maybe you haven't spoken in a while, or things cooled off, and then suddenly, he drops a reference to something you two joked about months ago. That's not just a joke. That's him missing the version of you he felt close to. He's reaching for familiarity, trying to create a safe emotional space without fully exposing how he feels. Even if he doesn't say, "I miss you," bringing up something only you two share is his version of that. So when he revives those little moments, it's because he's been replaying them. He hasn't moved on emotionally, no matter how distant he seems. Humor is his entry point, but you're still very much in his head. One of the clearest, and yet most easily missed, signs that a guy is secretly hooked on you is when he shows signs of jealousy, but tries to hide it. He doesn't come right out and say he's bothered. He won't admit it, and he might even act indifferent. But his tone changes, his energy shifts, and suddenly, there's a weird tension in the air whenever another guy is mentioned. That's not random, that's subtle jealousy, and it's a giveaway that you're on his mind more than he wants you to know. This kind of jealousy often shows up in indirect ways. Maybe you casually mention someone new in your life, and he suddenly goes quiet or changes the subject. Maybe he throws in a sarcastic comment like, "Oh, so he's your new favorite now?" Or he jokes about you replacing him, even though he's trying to play it off. That's not just teasing, that's his emotional reaction leaking through. When a guy is emotionally detached, he truly won't care. But if he's low-key invested, jealousy becomes hard to suppress, especially if he feels like someone else is taking the attention, time, or emotional space he once had. The fact that he notices and reacts even slightly means he's still emotionally tethered to you. And the more he tries to downplay it, the more obvious it actually becomes. Sometimes, he might even try to compete a little, mentioning other women around him, trying to make you jealous in return, or suddenly hyping up his own plans to seem unbothered. But subtle jealousy isn't about control, it's about emotional exposure. He's feeling something he didn't plan to feel, and it comes out sideways. Even small things, like him watching your social stories more intensely when you're out with other people, or suddenly texting you after you've posted with another guy, are signs that you're triggering emotional discomfort in him, and that discomfort comes from caring. So if you see those subtle signs, hesitation, sarcasm, mood changes, sudden curiosity about who you're spending time with, don't ignore them. Jealousy is rarely logical, but it's always revealing. And when he's trying to keep his cool while fighting it, it usually means one thing: he's way more invested than he's letting on. You ever notice how he's just there? Not chasing you, not messaging you directly, not asking to meet up, but somehow he always ends up nearby. He shows up at the same places, replies in group chats right after you speak, or suddenly becomes more active online right after you post. It might feel like a coincidence at first, but after a while you start to sense a pattern. That's not random, that's intentional. He's keeping himself in your orbit without having to say it out loud. When a guy is emotionally hooked but not ready to make a move, or when he's trying to keep up the act that he's not that into it, he often uses proximity as a way to stay connected. Physical or digital, it doesn't matter. The goal is the same: to be close enough that you notice him, feel his presence, or remember he's still around, but without putting himself in a position to get rejected, or feel too exposed. This is what makes it so subtle and so revealing. He may show up at events where he knows you'll be, but act surprised to see you. Or he'll casually comment on something you posted days ago just to restart the conversation. He might even act like he's just checking in on the group, but you know the timing lines up a little too perfectly with your energy. The truth is, people don't position themselves near someone they're indifferent about. If he's hovering in your space, especially if he's not directly engaging, it means he's watching, waiting, and emotionally invested. He wants to know what you're doing, who you're around, and whether you still notice him. It's low-effort connection, yes, but it's also a signal that he's not ready to let go of the emotional thread between you. He's keeping a toe in the water while pretending he's not swimming at all. So the next time you think, why is he always just there? Trust your instincts. His presence isn't passive, it's protective. Of his ego, of his emotions, and maybe even of what he still hopes could happen with you. When he's always around but never quite stepping in, it's because you haven't left his mind, not even close. Sometimes the loudest sign that a guy is hooked on you, even if he's acting distant or cold, is that he simply can't let go. You might think that if he's pulling away, losing interest, or pretending he doesn't care, that means he's moved on. But in reality, the opposite is often true. Behind the mask of indifference, there's a deep emotional struggle happening. He's fighting himself, trying to convince both you and himself that it's over, but the truth is he's still holding on. When a guy can't let go, it shows in subtle ways. He might delete your number or unfriend you, but still check your social media. He might say things that suggest he's moved on, yet he's the first to remember important dates, inside jokes, or moments you shared. This conflict between his actions and feelings is a sign he's not ready to emotionally disconnect, even if he's pretending he is. Pretending to let go is often a defense mechanism. Maybe he's afraid of rejection or getting hurt. Maybe he feels like letting go is what he should do, but his heart isn't on board. So he puts on this tough exterior, acting like he's detached, but inside he's replaying memories, wondering what could have been, and wishing things were different. This inner battle makes him unpredictable, sometimes cold and distant, sometimes reaching out with unexpected vulnerability. It can be frustrating for you because his mixed signals make it hard to know where you stand. But that confusion itself is a sign he's emotionally tangled up with you. The inability to let go isn't about weakness, it's about emotional investment. It shows that despite the distance he creates, he hasn't stopped caring. He's stuck in a limbo where moving on feels impossible, but opening up feels risky. So if you see him acting like he's over it, but notice he's still watching, still reaching out in small ways, or holding on to your connection behind the scenes, know this: he's not done with you. not by a long shot. Even if he's pretending otherwise, he can't let go because deep down you mean more to him than he's willing to admit. Now that you've learned these 9 undeniable signs that he's hooked on you, even when he's acting distant, it's time to take a step back and reflect on what this really means for you. Understanding these behaviors is powerful because it lifts the fog of confusion and gives you a clearer picture of where you stand. But knowing the signs is only half the battle. The real question is, what do you do with this knowledge? First, it's crucial to recognize that his distance and mixed signals don't have to leave you feeling powerless or anxious. Instead, they're your invitation to reclaim control of your emotional well-being. If he's showing these signs, it means you have influence, whether it's to deepen the connection or to set healthy boundaries for yourself. You get to decide what kind of energy and attention you want to give, and what you deserve in return. One of the most important things you can do now is pause and observe. Don't rush to fill the silence or chase after him just because you know he's thinking about you. Instead, watch how he acts consistently over time. Actions always speak louder than words or random texts. If he truly cares, he will show it in a way that feels respectful, consistent, and genuine, not just in fits and starts. Secondly, communicate openly with yourself, and when the time is right, with him. If his mixed signals leave you confused or hurt, it's okay to ask for clarity. You deserve to know where you stand, and sometimes a simple, honest conversation can cut through the noise and bring relief. Remember, being emotionally aware of his behavior doesn't mean you need to wait around indefinitely. Your happiness and peace of mind come first. If his distance becomes a pattern that drains you, it's perfectly okay to step back and protect your heart. Ultimately, these signs show you that you're more than just a passing thought in his mind. You're someone who's left a mark. Now it's your move. Whether you choose to stay open, set boundaries, or walk away, you do it from a place of strength and self-respect. Because the right person will never make you question your worth.